of 2021. And thereafter, debate will resume on the Irrigation Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2021. Other bills which have been lined up in the order of business this afternoon include the health laws, the National Cohesion and Peace Building Bill, the Social Assistance Repeal Bill, and the Landlord and Tenant Bill, that is National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2021. There is a petition which will be presented in the House this afternoon. The subject of this petition is violation of the right to relevant education and training by Egerton University. And the petitioners this petition to be reported by the Speaker on behalf of Messrs. Dereed Olumasai, Ian and Alvin Omungeni, and the relevant committee will be the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. The members who will be asking questions this afternoon, among them the member for Kibra constituency, Honorable Bernard Okoth, the Honorable member for Ijara, Honorable Sophia Noor, the member for Embakasi West, Honorable George Theuri, the member for Baringo Central, Honorable Joshua Kandie, the member for Samburu North, Honorable Alois Lentoimaga, the member for Magarini constituency, Honorable Michael Kingi, the member for Gidunguri, Honorable Gabriel Kago. We'll also ask a question. This question will be directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development and Public Works. The member for Bomet Central, Honorable Ronald Tundui, will ask the Cabinet Secretary for Water, Irrigation and Sanitation 3 questions. The member for Dagoretti North, Honorable Simbarati, will ask the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and Physical questions as well. The member for Suba South, Honorable John Buddy, will ask the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government questions as well. If you're just joining us, the business of the National Assembly this afternoon is about to commence, and as soon as the Speaker or the presiding Speaker this afternoon, as soon as I stepped into the chamber, I will hand you over for the live broadcast. The member for Kibra constituency, Honorable Bernard Okoth, will ask the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works to provide the status of the ongoing construction of Ngong Road, Kungu Karumba, Langata Link Road in Nairobi City County. And could the Cabinet Secretary explain the reasons which led the initial contractor to abandon the project, and what is the names, address and nationality of the new contractor? Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the steps that the ministry is taking to put to an end loss of lives and destruction of property occasioned by the construction of the said road? And could the Cabinet Secretary indicate when the construction of the said road is likely to be completed? The question by the Honourable Member for Kibra constituency will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honourable Justin Muturi, has stepped into the chambers, meaning that the business of the National Assembly can begin in earnest. This broadcast is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Edward Kabasam. I will now hand you over for this live broadcast. Good afternoon.
Honourable members, let's pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the office of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, We beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants who may be pleased to court the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you are committed to our church. Amen. Proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Honour members, Standing Order 225-2B requires the Speaker to report to the House any petition other than those presented by a member. Further, Article 119 of the Constitution provides for the right of any person to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including petitioning the House to enact, amend, and/or repeal any legislation. In this regard, honourable members, I wish to report to the House that my office has received a petition signed by Messrs. David Okoti Olumasai of National ID number 31297235, Ian Nyaga Geshobi of National ID number 32416254, and Elvin Onyango Mangeni of National ID number 32744119. Regarding violation of the right to relevant education and training by Egerton University. Honourable members, the petitioners recount that in 2014, Egerton University enrolled them to pursue Bachelor of Science, in brackets Water and Environmental Engineering, which they successfully completed and graduated in 2019. However, in the course of undertaking the course, the petitioners learned that the program had not been approved and accredited by Engineers Board of Kenya as required under Section 7, Subsection 1, Paragraph L of the Engineers Act of 2011. The petitioners aver that upon learning of the foregoing, they severally engaged the university between 2014 and 2019 to have the program approved and accredited before graduation. In the first instance, the university management undertook to have the program accredited by end of 2015, which the petitioners claimed it never happened. The petitioners would later be assured in 2016 that the Engineers Board of Kenya would carry out an accreditation inspection that would culminate in accreditation of the program at the university. Honourable members, the petitioners claim that the inspection never took place, and instead, in 2018, Egerton University management informed the petitioners that it had signed a memorandum of understanding with the Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, MMUST, to enable the petitioners to use engineering facilities at MMUST, which is accredited to offer the program. Further, the petitioners were required to undertake 8 remedial units so as to upgrade from the unaccredited program to the accredited Bachelor of Science, in brackets, Civil and Environmental Engineering, as recommended by the Engineering Board of Kenya. Now, members, the petitioners are concerned that their efforts to have Egerton University management to facilitate them to upgrade to the accredited program in partnership with MMUST, as recommended by the Engineers Board of Kenya, never bore any fruit, leading to their graduation in 2019 with an unaccredited degree. Consequently, the petitioners have suffered the fate of being ineligible for registration as engineers and cannot therefore be employed to offer engineering professional services or work, given that Section 49 of the Engineers Act prohibits persons not registered with the Engineers Board of Kenya from practicing as engineers. Further, the petitioners cannot engage in private professional engineering practice, since Section 50 of the Act provides that, and I quote, "A person who is not registered as a professional engineer or firm shall not be entitled to submit engineering plans, surveys, drawings, schemes, proposals, reports, designs, or studies to any person or authority in Kenya." Close the quotes. In view of the foregoing, the petitioners are aggrieved that the inaction by the Egerton University that led to them graduating with unaccredited degree certificates rendered them ineligible for registration as professional engineers and has fatally jeopardized their rights to relevant education and training, as well as access to employment under Article 55 of the Constitution. Honourable members, the petitioners therefore pray the National Assembly, through the Departmental Committee on Education and Research, 1, intervenes to ensure the management of Egerton University to immediately facilitate the petitioners to undertake the 8 remedial units necessary for them to upgrade from Bachelor of Science, Water and Environmental Engineering degree, which is not accredited, to the accredited Bachelor of Science, bracket, Civil and Environmental Engineering degree at no cost. 2, inquires into the circumstances under which the university continued to offer an accredited degree in Bachelor of Science, in brackets, Water and Environmental Engineering, with a view to recommending immediate cessation of enrollment of students to the program. And 3, makes any other recommendations so that the committee may deem fit in addressing the plight of the petitioners. And honourable members, having determined that the matters raised by the petitioners are well within the authority of this House, I order that the provisions of Standing Order 227(1), this petition be committed to the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. The committee is required to consider the petition and report its findings to the House and to the petitioners in accordance with Standing Order 227, Subsection 2. I thank you. Comments, clarifications, no debates. Honorable Sankok.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I have interacted with you within and outside Parliament, and I have no doubt that with your leadership skill, progressive thinking, and your knowledge, vast knowledge on governance, when you become the president, these issues will be solved and these students will not be facing such problems, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and it is really a massive problem, and we need to address it surely. Because how can you take 4 years of your prime time or 5 years of your prime time, pay a lot of money to study a course that the university itself knows that is not accredited, Honorable Speaker, and this issue emanated from what we opposed when we were in the student leadership of parallel degree program, where they commercialize education in this country, Honorable Speaker. And I think this House must also address the issue of commercialization of education in this country, because it will solve these issues and these problems. The issue where when you have an A and you don't have money, you'll only be able to afford some very small courses like anthropology, Honorable Speaker. If you have a C and you add money, you can now study medicine, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, this issue can be solved, because what they have done is to try and, because they are commercial now, they have gone commercial now, they want now to, no, just a comment, I'm giving a comment. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Pukose is becoming a prefect in this house. Please control Honorable Pukose. We don't need a prefect inside this chamber. You know, and it's just a mono. Honorable Speaker, so to sum up, no, I'm finishing. So as a house, we should try to check the issue of commercialization, because this is what is bringing these problems. Because they are trying to make even small units be degree courses, so that they can attract more customers, so that they can get more money. So we should try to address this issue, and it is rightly before this House. Honorable Speaker, I support you that the committee should really fast track and make sure that it address this issue as quick as possible. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Wamalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as the committee looks into this petition, we also want to know, how was this course, Mr. Speaker, approved at the university? Because before any course is offered, the Senate must approve. And when it comes to professional courses, Mr. Speaker, the professional bodies must approve first before the Senate approves the availability of this. And this, Mr. Speaker, has been happening to many universities. In the absence, Mr. Speaker, of adequate funding, universities have been coming up with mushrooming of courses for purposes of looking for funds, Mr. Speaker, at the expense of the market. So we request the Committee of Education to move with speed and even expand this net, so that if other universities are doing the same thing, Mr. Speaker, and an action must be taken immediately, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Honorable Dawood Rahim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in this petition. I think it's very important, Mr. Speaker. You cannot be studying for many years and then you're told your course is not accredited. Mr. Speaker, there was a time a couple of years back as well, there was an issue with the Institute of Engineers. There was even the law, Kenya School of Law, and the courses people study for, they study it for a purpose, and if that purpose is not fulfilled, we are curtailing the people's rights. So I believe this one should be sorted out, and accreditation should be given to the people who desire them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Iringo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support the petitioners, Mr. Speaker, and it is regrettable that they spent almost 5 years doing something which will not benefit them in their lives, Mr. Speaker. And it is a serious error with the university, because they cannot undertake a course whereby whoever is taking that course will not use that knowledge or whatever he has acquired in the university to better his life. Mr. Speaker, I support the petition, and let the committee sit down and seriously see how they can help these young men, so that at least they can recover what they have lost. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Nyamai.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, I would like to say that it is a very sad situation, and that in my own constituency, Kitui South, I have interacted with students who have gone through this particular course. And it is important, when the Committee on Education is handling this matter, to find out whether there could be other students who are going through courses of practical nature like this course that may not have been accredited. When people go to university, Honorable Speaker, they find themselves even naming themselves engineers because of the hopes and aspirations that they have before they start the training. So I would like to also support this petition, Honorable Speaker, and say that this matter, from my own experience, I've seen it affecting students' mental health when they realize that they are not employable, when they realize that they are not, it's not possible for them to be the engineers that they wanted to be. So as they deal with it, it is important also to bring on board COOPs, so that COOPs can take the responsibility of ensuring that before any admissions are done, they have checked and they are assured that accreditation has been done. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Pukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Listening to the petition by the three students, I think it's a very sad affair. And I was actually trying to see if the chair of the committee is here, because it is important that the comments we make is they actually take it, the committee incorporates them when these institutions appear before them. Because for one, I think it's a high time that we need to look at the universities. And even if there is an act that we need to bring into force or make amendment to ensure that no course shall be offered in our university institutions that is not accredited by the various institutions like the Engineers Board, the Medical Laboratory Board, because I remember there were students who did a medical laboratory degree at the university, and for a long time they went through an uphill task. And there might be many other courses, as Honorable Nyamai puts it, that there is being offered there and is not accredited. I think when the House passes the law on issues of making sure that professional organizations are accredited by their various bodies, it is also the honors of these bodies to make sure that they supervise those institutions and make sure that they are offering both quality and what meets the standards of the various institutions. So I think, Honorable Speaker, this is a matter that the committee should look at it very fast, urgently, because time is of essence, and so that we can be able to resolve it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support it.
With regard to the point you raised about the presence of the chair of the committee in the House, it is the responsibility of the staffers who clerk committees, especially the head of a committee, to make sure that when a petition is presented, quite apart from the petition itself, they pick the hands and record of what was said by members by way of comments. So it is not really the chairperson, it is the staff. That is what they are supposed to do, so that when the committee begins to consider the petition, they also have before it the comments which were made by members. These comments are not in vain, and that's the point. The staff must know that. Obviously, the clerk is directed to ensure that at all times always happens. Honorable Sosion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The petition before this House, I think, is one of the most genuine petitions we have seen in this House, Mr. Speaker, because it's bordering on the intellectual rights of these students who have undertaken a course that is not accredited. Mr. Speaker, the committee then should prioritize and give due treatment to this petition. Mr. Speaker, universities offering engineering courses that are not accredited should really be checked, Mr. Speaker. And finally, there is need to control massification and commercialization in our universities and ensure that the quality frameworks are working in the best interest of the country and the intellectual rights of students are also protected. Maybe these students need adequate compensation and that they are taken to MMU to conclude their courses as soon as possible. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I sympathize with the students. I also sympathize with the parents, and I empathize with the university that probably the lecturers who taught these students all those years are knowing that the course was not accredited. However, Honorable Speaker, as the committee looks at the petition, there are a few questions they need to put in mind. Number one, what is the general practice of guidance for the students at the point of selecting courses? And how does KUSIPS deal with the courses that probably seems to be commercialized and not of any academic value? Second, Honorable Speaker, it's also important that professional bodies find a mechanism through
Council of University Education to review all the courses that are being offered in the universities and determine their relevance. I know quite a number of cases, Honorable Speaker. Universities hire lecturers when the Council of University Education comes to review them or investigate and inspect them, parade fake lecturers who pass as if they are permanent lecturers of the university. It's such a rotten system, Honorable Speaker, that requires thorough review, and I hope the petition will trigger such a review. Thank you.
Honorable Omboko Milemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me begin by also indicating that the Chair of Education is out, and I actually talked to her this morning, and she indicated that I step in for her while everything will be going on. Having said that, it is a very dear petition, but I think we should also look at the other courses which are affected in a similar way. And furthermore, also call the Engineers Board to see if they can give these students another test, because I know it happens in other professions, like the accountants are here. And that can actually solve. If they give them another test that can make them qualify, then they could be accredited. Because those are many, many options that we can use. Without much ado, thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Muruga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this petition is timely, especially because it relates on 3 young men who have a whole expanse of life ahead of them, and it needs to be handled with the speed it deserves. Number 2, with the mushrooming of universities in the country, some of very dubious quality and expression, while others are public, and yet they go into the length like these ones to offer degrees that are not accredited. It's a high time the ministry actually moved to the speed and audited these universities and what they are offering. Many of them are purely out to rake in money because they know we are desperate for education. Young people have to get an education, and therefore they offer things that are substandard. And most importantly, we ask the Engineers Board of Kenya to check into the plight of these young people, the way the Kenya Medical Practitioner and Dentists Board deals with similar issues by trying to give them exams, which if they pass, they then get accredited. I think this can be resolved that way. Thank you.
Member Von Liwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is quite a widespread practice in colleges and higher education institutions. Not only in degree, as you have said, Mr. Speaker, but the problem is other lower courses like certificate and diploma courses, which are just meant to make money for the institutions, but eventually they are not even nearer connected to the job market. And we have people who have gone and used a lot of money, and when they come out, they have no clue where to hang themselves. Now, I wonder, Mr. Speaker, then, if the Senate and the councils of this university cannot do this job, then who is the right person to do the supervision or the policing, whatever we can call it, to make sure that this is done right? Lastly, I would like, if possible, then the committee can upscale this to a full-fledged inquiry so that we know where the pain is really. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for the Ureti South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice to this petition. And I'd like to say, Mr. Speaker, that we invest as a country very heavily on education. If you look at our budget, the amount that we allocate to education is a significant amount. Mr. Speaker, the Education Ministry is also one of the ministries that has one of the biggest workforces in the government. And the institutions under the Ministry of Education are quite many. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education also has 6 permanent secretaries, unlike many other ministries. So, Mr. Speaker, such a blunder is inexcusable coming from a university as reputable as a university that is causing such a blunder. Mr. Speaker, my prayer is that when the committee, the esteemed Education Committee, when it opens up this petition, I pray that the remedy they offer shall be a remedy that gives an opportunity for these young learners to be able to attend to the remaining 8 courses at no cost, Mr. Speaker. But while this is happening, we also need to have a discussion about the relevance of the courses that are being offered in our universities, Mr. Speaker. Recent research is telling us that over 80% of the courses that are being offered in our public universities are going to be obsolete in a few years, meaning that we are giving obsolete education to our future, Mr. Speaker. And I speak as a teacher, saying that I believe that education can be one of the biggest agents of change for a country. But if we invest this much in education and end up with such blunders, then it beats the purpose of giving such a high investment on such an institution. So, Mr. Speaker, I do pray that the remedy will be a fitting remedy, and if they have to receipt the 8 courses, let it be at no cost. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Mandera West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for offering me this opportunity. This is a very sad petition that has come to the table, to the House this afternoon. Egerton University, being one of the earlier universities in these countries, being one of the universities that is highly respected, it is seriously a shame to hear that they can offer a course that is not accredited, to an extent that the students who have started that course finish it and then come back for years looking for opportunities to accredit. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think this is as a result of commercialization of education. We hear very, very funny courses these days, in so many funny names of courses, and if you look critically at them, ultimately they will have no value addition either to this country or to the persons who are undertaking it. The only value they have is the fees which is being paid to the universities. I think the Committee of Education should take seriously this matter and not look only narrowly at this petition that has been presented today, but look further. All those universities that are giving out uncredited courses, because this is a very serious loss to the families, to the students who have gone through that course, and to the nation at large. So I really support, and my suggestion is that let us go deeper and investigate all those universities that are offering uncredited courses, that are offering courses that are not giving any value to this country, that are not giving any value to the students, that are ultimately going to waste time and resource of the students and the parents and the country at large. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Sotsi.
Mr. Speaker, I also sympathize with the plight of the students who have been affected. But then this petition raises very fundamental questions. The first question is how would a university as serious as Egerton University develop a course, design a course, have it approved by the University Council, have it approved by the Commission of Higher Education, train and examine people without the involvement of the Engineering Registration Board? I think this is a very serious issue. Secondly, where is the Engineering Registration Board? I think they need to be proactive as well. They need to monitor courses offered by universities and give their verdicts early enough, rather than wait until people have done the course and graduated, and then they come and say they cannot accredit. I think this is a very serious petition, and I hope the committee will give it justice so that we don't have a repeat of the same scenario in future, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kosing.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. And I want to echo your wisdom, Honorable Speaker, that even if we chairs are not in Parliament, that members are not making these comments for nothing. That is a very big statement, Honorable Speaker, because it will inform the debates at the committee level. Honorable Speaker, this petition raises a number of issues that requires comment. Number one is, Honorable Speaker, in our training, what happens in supply and what happens in demand? It looks like, Speaker, The demand and supply are not together, all together. So the supply is doing their own things, meaning colleges. Then the demand, which is market, they're also doing their own things. And therefore, the objectives are completely different, Honorable Speaker. And I would really appeal to the committee to look at that, whether we need to bring them together so that we train, Honorable Speaker, our students. Because there's no need, Speaker, to spend money until 4 years or 5 years, and then you're not accredited, Honorable Speaker. Can you imagine? And I want to give this good example. Speaker, few years, in the last parliament particularly, you will find that somebody graduates from university as a teacher, having done a D+ in Form 4, or even at least less than a C+, Honorable Speaker, D+, C-, would get a degree, Honorable Speaker, for teaching in secondary schools. Then what happens? TSC declines to honor that kind of degree because, according to them, that's not a qualification. Then you wonder, it is this country that trains those people to have a degree. The same country denies them a job at TSC. It means, Honorable Speaker, that there is a disconnect which the committee needs to look at. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I would ask the committee also to call IEK to give also their comments, Honorable Speaker, so that we make something productive. But in this country, we want the demand and supply to work together for the benefit of our country, Honorable Speaker. I thank you.
Member for Nyariba Richache.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I sympathize and empathize with the students involved because, Honorable Speaker, the parents have invested heavily. The parents have invested heavily. The students have invested their time. They have invested their ambitions. And they're getting, at the end of it all, they're told that it's not possible for them to graduate and be recognized for the courses they have been trained on. Honorable Speaker, it's not fair. It's painful to the parents. That should not happen again. I think the ruling of the Committee of Education should be a precedent. That should not be used across the board because we have had several of those cases happening everywhere, and including foreign universities, Honorable Speaker. The government should come up with a policy guideline on how they want our students who are pursuing education outside the country to conduct it themselves, because you don't wait for them to finish and then you tell them they're not accepted or they're not recognized in Kenya, Honorable Speaker, because then you have lost money. We have lost foreign currency to those countries. We have lost the time. We have lost the time for these students and the parents who have invested and denied themselves so much to get their children to go through university, only to be told that it's not possible for them to use that knowledge. So, Honorable Speaker, we need to come up with a more practical way of measuring the capacity and the abilities of the students other than the examination, Honorable Speaker, because there are some students who are gifted in memorizing and others are gifted in, practical ways of using the knowledge they have acquired. So that should also be a way of measuring their capacity and their capabilities for purposes of ensuring that they are not disadvantaged. So I support the motion, Honorable Speaker, and I think it should be used to set precedents for the universities both in Kenya and abroad. I support.
Member for Mwingi West.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this petition by the students. Mr. Speaker, I know the way it has drawn so many actually attention from the members, it is a clear justification that a lot of students are really suffering, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on onset, I just want to empathize with the parents who have been really straining during this economic time. And when you educate your child for so many years and then you end up having fake certificates, it is not acceptable. Mr. Speaker, I'm just joining the rest of the members in condemning this issue, and let all the university chancellor who was responsible for that be brought to books, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we would like to see justice served to these students, Mr. Speaker. They have lost a lot of money. They have lost a lot of time, and time wasted never recovered, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to add this voice on. Thank you.
Very well. Petition referred to the committee as earlier on directed. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader of the majority party.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, August 18th, 2021, in the afternoon sitting. One, the fourth quarterly economic and budgetary review report for the financial year 2020-2021 from the National Treasury. Number two, the reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect to the following institutions for the year ended 30th of June 2019 and the certificates therein. Bomet University College, Rongo University, and Postal Corporation of Kenya. And number three, the reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect to the following institutions for the year ended 30th of June 2020 and the certificates therein for Alupe University College and Information and Communication Technology Authority. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The chairman or chairperson, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, or a member thereof. Honorable Wambugu Mnene.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the chairperson, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 18th August 2021, afternoon sitting. Report of the Departmental Committee on the Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the Public Participation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 71 of 2019. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Next, the chairman of Public Transport and Works Committee. Honorable Kosing.
Yes, I thank you, the Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, August 18, 2021, afternoon sitting. Reports of the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing on its consideration of 1. The Landlord and Tenant Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2021, and ratification of the agreement amending the Air Transport Agreement between Kenya and the United States of America. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
The chairman, Select Committee on National Government Constituencies Development Fund, the Honorable Wamunyinyi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to give notice of the following motion. That pursuant to the provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraphs 5, subparagraph 2 and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 2 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, August 3, 2021. 1, Nambale constituency, and 2, Sirisia constituency. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The chairman, Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing.
I thank you again, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing on its consideration of the ratification of the agreement amending the Air Transport Agreement between Kenya and the United States of America, laid on the table of the House Wednesday, August 18, 2021, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 7 and Section 8 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves ratification of the agreement amending the Air Transport Agreement between Kenya and the United States of America. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Vice Chairperson, the Committee on Delegated Legislation, Honorable Jagagwa.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the draft elections campaign financing regulations submitted by the Independent Elections and Boundaries Commission on 5 August 2021 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 17th August 2021, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 10, 118, 259 of the Constitution, the Interpretations and General Provisions Act, Cap 2, Section 5, 12, 18, 19, and 29(2) of the Electoral Campaign Finance Act 2013 and Section 18 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, annuls in its entirety contributions and spending limits for political parties and the candidates for the purposes of the general elections to be held on 9th August 2022, published as Kenya Gazette Notice number 8024 of 9th August 2021, and it rejects the draft election campaign financing regulations as submitted by the Independent Elections and Boundaries Commissions on 5th August 2021. Thank you, Speaker.
Burrell, next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
First question by the member for Kibra, Honorable Okoth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 327 of 2021. The question is directed to the Cabinet Secretary of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide the status of the ongoing construction of Ngong Road, Kungu Karumba, Langata Link Road in Nairobi City County? Number 2, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the reasons that led the initial contractor to abandon the project, and what is the name, address and nationality of the new contractor? Number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the steps that the ministry is taking to put an end to loss of lives and destruction of property occasioned by the construction of the said road? Number 4, could the Cabinet Secretary indicate when the construction of the said road is likely to be completed? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To be replied before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. Next question by the member for Ijara, Honorable Sophia Abdi. Sophia Noor, sorry. Member for Ijara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. And I would like to ask question 332/2021. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the steps being taken by the government to address frequent community conflict among the arid and semi-arid region of the country, which has caused death, destruction of properties, and result in significant increase in the number of orphans and widows, and raise in poverty levels in the said areas? Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why Kenya Police Reservists were withdrawn in most parts of the areas?
Question will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. Next question by the member for Embakasi West, Honorable George Theuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask a question to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain what has caused the inordinate delay in the allocation of stalls in the new Wakulima market located along Kagundo Road to small-scale traders who are displaced following the construction of Outer Ring Road? Number 2, could the Cabinet Secretary confirm whether the multi-agency team established to formulate the allocation criteria for these stalls carried out public participation prior to the formulating and publishing the criteria in the local newspapers, and if not, undertake to have the exercise repeated with a view to ensuring the involvement of all stakeholders as well as the public? Could the, number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary provide the status compensation for the traders for the loss suffered following the displacement, and indicate the measures put in place by the ministry to ensure that only genuine persons benefit from the compensation? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. Next question by the member for Baringo Central, the Honorable Joshua Kadie.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to ask question number 338 of 2021. And it is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the measures in place to ensure maximum utilization of Eldoret International Airport for both passenger and cargo? 2. Could the Ministry consider enhancing the airport's cargo handling capacity? 3. Could the Ministry also consider expanding the airport's runway to accommodate bigger capacity planes and therefore promote the entry of more cargo in Eldoret Airport? Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes.
No, why you? I suppose you meant. I suppose you meant runway, not run away. It will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. The next question by the member for Samburu North, the Honorable Leto Imaga.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 339 of 2021, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. Number 1, could the Cabinet Secretary provide status of investigation into the recent invasion and raids by heavily armed bandits in the following areas on Samburu North constituency, namely Mbukoi Village, Marti location on 18th July 2021, where Lemagana, Lekilele and Lomoduka, Le Rousseau were killed and 400 cows driven away towards Buda Valley. Ngorishe area, vertical sublocation of Gasanangai Division, location on 19th July 2021, where Majeres Leparoya was killed and 4 other men critically injured. Lonjorin village in the south or location, where 27 camels were driven away towards Buda Valley again, and Donyonker village in Suyan location on 23rd July 2021, where 200 goats and 30 calves belonging to Lentiro family were stolen. Number 2, what steps the ministry is taking to ensure that the livestock stolen from the said villages are recovered and returned to their rightful owners? Number 3, what action is being taken against police officers in Samburu North Sub-County who, despite being in close proximity to the crime scenes, failed to respond to distress calls? Number 4, which is the last one, what policy measures have been put in place to contain the increased insecurity and banditry in Samburu North constituency and other neighboring areas which have significantly increased following the disarmament of the National Police Reservists? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. The next question is by the member for Magarini, the Honorable Michael Kingi. Member for Magarini, the Honorable Michael Kingi. Next question is by the member for Githunguri, the Honorable Gabriel Kago.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to ask question 341 of 2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. Roman 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the upgrading of the 15-kilometer Nyaga Kiabororo Kamushege Road in Githunguri constituency to a bitumen standard is yet to commence despite the contract being awarded in June 2016? Roman 2, considering that the said road, which also connects the Ruiru Uplands Highway and Mau Mau Road, is currently impassable due to its deplorable state, could the Cabinet Secretary consider having the construction of this road under the Mau Mau program? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Question will be replied before the Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. Next question by the member for Bomet Central, the Honorable Otonui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Water, Irrigation and Sanitation, question number 342, 2021, the following questions. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide the status of the construction of the Poster Dam in Bomet County, which is meant to serve the people of Bomet, Kericho, and parts of Narok County? 2. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain what has caused the inordinate delay in its construction and provide the measures the ministry has put in place to fast-track its completion? 3. Could the Cabinet Secretary state the total amount of money allocated towards implementation of this project? Thank you.
To be replied before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Next question by the member for Dagoretti North, the Honorable Simba Arati James. The Honorable King James Simba Arati, member for Dagoretti North. Next question by the member for Suba South, the Honorable John Bandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is number 347 of 2021 on the order paper, and is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. Mr. Speaker, Roman 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the circumstances that led to the killing of the late Michael O'Hara Simon of ID number as stated in the order paper? But let me just read it. 2566518. A fisherman at Gateway Beach in Sindo, but whose home is at Ro Wangapala in Kaksingiri West location, Suba South constituency, who was shot and thrown into Lake Victoria by people suspected to be Uganda security personnel on 5th of August 2021, as reported at Ringiti Police Post via occurrence book number 030508/2021. Roman 2. Mr. Speaker, I would want the Cabinet Secretary also to explain what action is the ministry taking to recover the body of the late fisherman and hold the security personnel accountable for his death. Number 3, or Roman 3, what is the role of the Kenya Coast Guard services in assisting and protecting the lives of the fishing community in Lake Victoria? And finally, Mr. Speaker, Roman 4, what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure long-lasting solutions to the constant harassment of the fishing communities living around Lake Victoria by the security personnel from neighboring countries, and more particularly Uganda and Tanzania? Mr. Speaker, that is the question.
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. Before we go to any, for the second time, question number 340 of 2021 by the member for Magarini, the Honorable Michael Kingi, for the second time. For the second time, member for Magarini, Honorable Michael Kingi, Member being absent, not desiring to be present, question is dropped. For the second time, question number 343 by the member for Dagoretti North, Honorable Simba Arati. Question number 343 by the member for Dagoretti North, the Honorable Simba Arati. Member being absent, not desiring to be present, question is dropped. Honorable Undo, what is out of order?
Honorable Speaker, on 28th February 2021, I asked a question directed towards the Committee of Transport on Angina airstrip. Honorable Speaker, I have not received any answer and have not been given any indication when the answer will be forthcoming from 28th February, the year of our Lord 2021. Second, Honorable Speaker, I also asked for a request for a statement dated 1st July 2021 on Kenya Transport and Logistics Network, KTLN. It was indicated to be given after 2 weeks, and I suppose, Honorable Speaker, from 1st July up to now is obviously more than 2 weeks. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I want to associate myself with the question raised by the leader of Minority Party, and I'd wish the day when their questions being answered, we could be informed, because we suffer from similar calamities every single day. I have to pay a lot of money, I have to retrieve bodies and bury those ones killed by the Uganda security forces. I suppose this matter is so critical, probably we could even turn it into a petition so that we deal with this matter with finality. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, I think when the question is being replied to before the committee, I think obviously, in fairness, the Honorable John Bandy and including yourself, all of you will be notified to be present when the Cabinet Secretary is responding. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion. Consideration of certain business received during the recess period.
Sorry, the member for honorable, what do you call the member for? It's called popularly Honorable Gathirwa Mwangi, is it? Yeah, but I know you have some other acronym, something to do with the military. I know where he is. He's yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Benjamin Gadiro Mwangi. The other one is Major Donk. And Honorable Speaker, I read standing order number 83 to raise point of order on very grave matters of conflict of interest relating to chairperson of the Select Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity, Honorable Maina Commander. Honorable Speaker, you have severally guided this House on matters of conflict of interest and urged us from time to time to refrain from participating on matters that conflict with our constitutional duties as members of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, indeed the chapter on leadership and integrity in the Constitution clearly prohibits state officers, including members of this House, from behaving in a manner, whether in public and official life, in private life, or in association with other persons, that avoid any conflict between personal interest and public interest or official duties. This is provided for in Article 75 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, further to Article 73 of the Constitution, which exposes the responsibility of leadership, also provides that 1, the guiding principles of leadership and integrity is objectivity and impartiality in decision making, and ensuring that decisions are not influenced by nepotism, favorism, other improper motive, or corrupt practices. Honorable Speaker, in addition to the Constitution, our own standing order number 90 provides that a member who wishes to speak on any matter in which the member has personal interest, and allow me to note that personal interest include
Your Highness, if you really kill me now, then Bailey and Sicho will make you pay for that. Even if you ascend the throne later.
Look at what you've done! I'm so disappointed with you. You were always reliable, smart, and flexible in the past. I placed high hopes on you.
And what brings you here? You came here to laugh at me? Just laugh at you? I don't have that much time, or that much interest in you. So is His Majesty suspicious of you?
夜风淡吹散沉香，江南起烟上。这一味当归入药汤，相思泪水。
To this end, Honorable Speaker, I seek your guidance on this matter and request that you issue a standing directive that Honorable Commander shall not preside or participate in deliberation of the committee on any matter touching all relating to the National Cohesion Integration Commission. This, Honorable Speaker, shall ensure that the committee of this House also adheres to the dictates of Article 73 and 75 of the Constitution and avoid conflict of interest. I thank you, Chair.
Leader Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I got very concerned that in the pretext of asking for a statement, the members seem to have been flouting the standing orders by discussing the conduct of a member without a substantive motion. Because that's what came out. So, Honorable Speaker, unless the member is willing to bring a substantive motion to bring out those issues, then canvass for action pursuant to that, I would urge that you order that his words be expunged from the records of this House.
I see quite a number of you have placed interventions. Is it about the same? Honorable John Bundy?
Mr. Speaker, just like the majority leader, I'm also a bit confused, but in a different line. The honourable member was asking or raised this as a point of order and is seeking for your guidance that Honourable Commander, who is chairing a committee of the House, has acted without disclosing that he has conflict of interest. But he has not specifically spelled out where this conflict of interest was called to question. Because, Mr. Speaker, if we are going to follow where relatives of members of parliament work, Mr. Speaker, that is a job that we cannot give you. For example, Mr. Speaker, the chair of Public Investments Committee of this House is responsible, or that committee is responsible for looking into the accounts of all parastatals. Are you telling me, Mr. Speaker, that before we elect a chair of a Public Investment Committee, we need to find out whether any of his relatives or her relatives works in any of the many parastatals in this country, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, that is a job you cannot give. So what the honorable member would have done, and I think we are giving him this guidance because he's a new member of parliament, to do a better job. Has he been here for more than one term? He has been here for 4 years. Anyway, to many, that is quite a long time. Maybe I think I'm using some kind of barometer or a yardstick, which is a bit like, I think I'm old for the House. But Mr. Speaker, what the honorable member would have done was to find an instance where the chair of the committee has acted in breach of our standing orders. But just the mere fact that some relative, and he was asking us that the chair is giving his son-in-law money, and that son-in-law is giving his daughter money. I don't know which is this money, and why should we stop Honorable Commander from giving money to son-in-law? It's not our business. He can give money to his son-in-law, but if he's referring to budgetary allocation, Honorable Commander does not provide money. It is this House that provides money to all government agencies, ministries, and state departments. So I think, Mr. Speaker, even though your ruling is asked for or sought for here, I think it's giving you a job that it really is not yours. The honorable member has not really done a good job, in my view.
Now, you see, honorable members, the more we discuss, and the Honorable Kavirwa, as you continue to speak about the chair of the National Cohesion Integration Committee, you know, I kept waiting. I was waiting for you to say the amounts of money which have been given and the circumstances under which they were given, because you see, normal budgetary processes, a committee merely makes recommendations. It is this House that allocates. Now, if it is money which the Honorable Commander has earned somewhere, and he chooses to give to his son-in-law or even mother-in-law or whatever, whomever. But now, you see, you have not given us specific details. Are you questioning the ability of the Honorable Commander to oversight that committee?
Mr. Speaker, what I was requesting is that when the committee is meeting with the commissioners, the vice takes over, not that the chairman be demoted or not, or stop being the chairman. He continues being the chairman, but when we are meeting with the commission, he give the vice chair or any other member take the chairmanship so that we can be able to interrogate.
Are you a member of that committee?
Yes, I am a member.
Now, when that commission is appearing, just raise the issue there.
Chair.
Because, you know, I'm not going to micromanage committees. It's just to advise you what you need to do. When that is happening, just raise the issue before the... So, Honorable Sankok,
wait.
Raise the matter there so that you request that the chair leaves the chair for the reasons that you've stated, so that the rest of you, the members of the committee, will listen to what the commission has to tell you. In the event that it is something that you think is going to cause any conflict. But surely, even if you as the members of that committee have liberty to question any of those commissioners. But you know, you can always request that the chair leaves the chair.
Honorable Speaker, the reason of studying and raising that matter is what happened in Mombasa on Friday. on Friday about the conflict of interest. And now what happened, even the committee member, myself included, wanted to question the commissioners. But the chairman said that the meeting has been, that we'll do it in the afternoon. When the afternoon came, the meeting was ended. So, Chair, I have nothing personal. I want to be very clear. I have nothing personal, Honorable Speaker. What I was requesting is that when we are discussing matters and any member has interest, if you are the chair, let the vice chair chair the meeting, direct the meeting, then after that, resume your chairmanship. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
No, honourable members, no. Now, I don't need your assistance now. Honourable Kadirwa, you are right to raise the issue you have raised. But what you need to do is to just communicate, right? In fact, that's the kind of thing that you should have written if you are aggrieved by that conduct, so that then it can be, because now bringing it here amounts to discussing the conduct of the chairman in a manner which is not in keeping with the standing orders. Because then you needed to raise, to do a substantive motion and make those allegations in the motion, so that the House as a House will resolve one way or other. But if you want the Speaker to make a determination, then I needed to get facts. You see, now you are giving facts about what happened on Friday. Now, I have no knowledge of what happened on Friday. I would have to go and start digging. And now, I don't know where you are. You say you are in some village, where? Mombasa. Now, you see, I haven't been to Mombasa for the longest time, since the outbreak of COVID. So I may not know what exactly has been happening in Mombasa. But you are at liberty to raise a complaint if you feel that you are being in any way insubordinated, or you think you are being forced not to participate. But you see, now you are saying you are told in the afternoon the meeting is over. Now I don't know. Is it you know, just like we sat here at 2:30. There are members, you know the time you came yourself. There are some members who came much earlier than you, like the Honorable Sankok. Yeah? So, you could come and then raise an issue, walk out. By the time you come back, the matter is debated and finished. Then you come and ask, what happened to my issue I raised? And we are told it was discussed and a determination made one way or other. So, now all those, I cannot be able from here, unless I begin now asking, go to find out from the clerks, what issue did you raise, if at all? If you raised it, was it captured in the minutes? So as to know whether you raised that issue which you have just raised now. Did you actually raise it? You raised it?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I raised that issue in the meeting, but the chairman overruled. And says
you see now that's a matter perhaps that will need to be dealt with by the Privileges Committee. But because there's too much, you need to give a lot more details, and it will require then we call even the clerks, the other members of the committee, like the Honorable Sankok. I don't know whether he was present in Mombasa. Were you? I thought you were a member of that committee.
Honorable Chair, I was kicked out after 2 weeks and 14 days. But now, since there is a doubt, and Honorable Commander is also a nominated member of Parliament like me, I tender my candidature in case, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable, I saw the hand of the Honorable Janet Nagabo. Are you a member of the committee?
I've done it. The front. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you was also there. But according to what my colleague has said here, me, I did not hear, Honorable Speaker. Sincerely speaking, even we have our Vice Chair who was right in that meeting. But I've even communicated to my colleague here, if we hate anything, let's discuss as a committee first before you bring it here. I've just communicated to him here, Honorable Speaker.
Who is your Vice Chair? Who is the Vice Chair? The Honorable Muliungi. But you are, you are so quiet. I'm wondering why. You are now standing, aren't you?
Yeah. Yes, Chair.
Umeinuka.
I've grown taller.
Umeinuka sasa.
I've grown taller, Chair. Chair, Speaker, Honorable Speaker, sir, I was in that meeting, and we made a resolution from day one that we condense the program so that we cover the program in one day. And I think because of condensing that program, the honorable member, I wanted to raise some issues which was raised out of time. And the chair said that will be discussed another time. And therefore, there was nothing in contempt, in my view. The chairman was acting in good faith. And we participate in all the matters in the committee in good faith. Thank you, Chairman.
Now, no. There's nothing. Please, honor members. Those of you like the member for Muranga, these are not directed at you. So please, just hold. Yes, you are. I know you are a chair, but nothing has been directed at you. No, you are not an elder. How? I think don't assume those titles. Don't assume them from the floor of the house. Honorable Gadirwa, I think let's put this matter to rest. You discuss, Honorable Gadirwa. I am not going to make any ruling. If you have an issue, write to the chairman of the Powers and Privileges Committee, or as you've been advised by your colleagues in the committee, raise it in the committee. Not necessarily when that commission is appearing, but when the committee is transacting other business, so that it can be discussed before the committee. So that we don't have to come to bring it here. And if by the time you escalate it to the floor of the House, I'm sure there will be some some discussions within the membership. Should you find anything that is in any way offensive, that is likely to violate Articles 73 and 75 and our standing orders with regard to declaration of interest, please raise it before the committee. Raise it before the committee, let it be minuted. If there is no decision taken, then do a formal letter to the Speaker. Very well, let's proceed now.
Order number 8, procedural motion, consideration of certain business received during the recess period.
Leader majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the following procedural motion, that notwithstanding the provisions of Study Order 120, 122, and 126, relating to publication procedure upon publication and first reading of bills, and Studying Orders 210, Subsection 2, relating to the stabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the period of the August long recess, beginning 20th of August to 20th of September 2021. Number one, should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill become due for first reading during the period, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 7 days following the publication of the bill, the fulfillment of the provisions of Article 110(3) of the Constitution, and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer the bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 127. That relates to committal bills, to committees and public participation. And upon resumption of the House, cause the bill to be read a first time, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. Number two, that should any statutory instrument be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House during its next sitting in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act number 3 of 2013. Number three, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House during its next sitting. And four, upon submission and approval of the reports of the relevant committees on the vetting of nominees for appointment to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the vetting of nominees for appointment to the Teachers Service Commission, the Speaker shall forthwith cause the reports to be circulated to all members in electronic form ahead of any special sittings of the House convened pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 29 to consider the said business so as to accord members time to apprise themselves with the contents of the reports. Honorable Speaker, this is a procedural motion that we do at every instant when the House is just about to go on a recess to basically cater for how business will be transacted while we can't be here for first readings and committal of bills, reports, or petitions to, or statutory instruments to committee. But most importantly is I want to just draw the attention of members that we have two tasks that are currently before committees, which is the vetting of nominees for commissioners to the IEBC and the vetting of commissioners to the Teachers Service Commission, which have a deadline that will expire while we are on recess. And want to also give notice to members that we will be asking you to come for a special sitting so that we can meet those constitutional deadlines. But for purposes of preparing for that eventuality, immediately the reports are out, we will not have the time for those reports to be tabled here, so you can then pick them and to guide your debate in terms of discussing the vetting. And this motion will now allow the Speaker to order the circulation to all of us as if they had been tabled, so that you're able to read the report, and when we come on the appointed time or day, it will just be to process the business rather than to go through the motions of tabling the report, and then we ask for time out to go and read it, and then we come back again and discuss the nominees. That is really the only new thing in addition to the usual that we do during the recess period in terms of papers, instruments, and bills. So, Honorable Speaker, members, would like to ask for your support on this so that as we leave at the end of the day today, we will then next assemble to just clear that nomination of those nominees, but without having to go through the technicalities of how you handle the report. So, and I'm sure everything else will proceed in the committees for all the businesses that have been received in accordance with this procedural motion. I beg to move and ask the leader of the minority party, Honorable John Badji, to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is basically a procedural motion and a second. I just want to add, not adding, we are all aware that from tomorrow we are likely to proceed on recess. Some of us are actually, this is our final day because tomorrow is a very important occasion in Homa Bay for a serious launch of countrywide tours to unite this country. So, Mr. Speaker, as we proceed on recess, and I've added one more day to that, we need to have important business to proceed. And that is, one, IBC commissioners are likely to be brought to Parliament. The issue of TSC, let's allow committees to deal with this so that they give reports. When we come back on a special sitting day, we'll come and finish. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish honorable members a nice time. The recesses that we are going to have are not going to be really enjoyable. These are for campaigns. So these are not ordinary recess periods that we give members. These are times to renew your contract. If you don't work well, utilize the recess very well, you will find yourself out of employment. And there are some of you, especially those who are still young in this game, it may be frustrating. Those of us who are old, Duale, myself, Kainan, Kimunya, we can go on retirement if things don't work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Osuna West, if you can even sit next to the member for Osuna East. It's not harmful. Honourable members, I propose the question, which is that notwithstanding the provisions of standing orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure upon publication, and first reading of bills, and standing order number 210, subsection 2, relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the period of the August long recess between 20th of August to 20th of September 2021, 1. Should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill becomes due for first reading during the period, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 7 days following the publication of the bill, the fulfillment of the provisions of Article 110, Clause 3 of the Constitution, and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer the bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127 dealing with committal of bills to committee and public participation, and upon resumption of the House, cause the bill to be read the first time, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 2. Should any statutory instrument be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall forthwith, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House during its next sitting in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act number 3 of 2013. Number 3, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House during its next sitting. And finally, upon the submission and approval of the reports of the relevant committees on the vetting of nominees for appointment to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission and the vetting of nominees for appointment to the Teacher Service Commission, the Speaker shall forthwith cause the reports to be circulated to all members in electronic form ahead of any special sittings of the House convened pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 29 to consider the same business, so as to accord members time to apprise themselves with the contents of the reports. So, okay, honourable members, I'll put the question in short form. But just to explain this last bit, I think the leader majority trying to do it, but I think it's fair that we all get to appreciate the implications of this last bit. That when those reports are transmitted in electronic form to all members, so if there is a special sitting, no member will then be allowed to say that the report has just been brought. It has just been tabled this morning or this afternoon. It will be deemed that from the time that it is circulated, you have had time to read through the report, and look at the recommendations, so that then we can do the debate on the date of the special sitting or special sittings, as the case may be. So, please, it is important we all appreciate this, so that then if there's going to be those sittings or sitting, we don't come to argue that we have not had time to look at the reports, and the date upon which they will be circulated will be indicated, even during that special sitting. So, honourable members, as you have desired, I put the question, which is that the procedural motion appearing as under number 8 and as read out be approved. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next
order number 9, motion, report of the Committee of the Whole House on the Foreign Service Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2021.
Question to be put. Honourable members, debate on this motion was concluded in Committee of the Whole House, but the question was not put. I therefore proceed to put the question, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Foreign Service Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2021. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Move. Honorable Charles Kilonzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the Foreign Service Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2021, be now read at that time. I also request the member for Nyaribari Chache, Honorable Tongi, to second.
Honorable Tongi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second the bill. We want to take this opportunity to thank the members for the support they have shown, because we believe by having this bill in place, will introduce some sanity and orderly way of doing things at the Foreign Service Ministry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I second.
Sorry, honourable members. I think there are too many other businesses. Honourable members, I propose a question, which is that the Foreign Service Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2021, be now read at that time. As the desire of the House is, having confirmed that we quote, I therefore put the question, which is that the Foreign Service Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2021, be now read at that time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the establishment, management, administration, accountability, and functioning of a professional foreign service of the Republic of Kenya and for connected purposes.
What? Yes, what's the point of order, Honorable Junet? Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to seek your indulgence and put your attention order number 10, which is the third reading of the NHIF bill, Mr. Speaker, which is committee of the whole House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important bill, Mr. Speaker, and I was seeking Are you trying to rig me out in Tiambachi?
Sorry, proceed, Honorable.
No, Mr. Speaker, I was seeking your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, on the order number 10, the committee of the whole House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the NHIF bill, Mr. Speaker, is very important. And the business we conduct, Mr. Speaker, in this House is one of the most important businesses that happen in this country, Mr. Speaker, because we make laws for the people, on behalf of the people of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And these are the laws that are used to govern them. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, the second reading question was put. The question was put on the second reading of the bill, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Mr. Speaker. And today it is coming up for the committee of the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we need enough time to come up with our amendments because, Mr. Speaker, procedurally, this is a house of procedure, traditions, and precedent, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, the majority leader has his opinion, he will say it. Let him allow me to say my opinion, Mr. Speaker. And you know, Mr. Speaker, under this new constitution, Mr. Speaker, of 2010, when the House was operating under this new regime of the constitution, the majority leader was in the village. I came here under the 2010 constitution in 2013 as my speaker, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a new regime. This is not the all the time of the Minister of Treasury giving dictates here on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker. But having said, Mr. Speaker, that, I'm seeking, Mr. Speaker, your indulgence in the sense that, Mr. Speaker, we need enough time to develop our amendments, Mr. Speaker. We have a lot of amendments. Normally, third reading, second reading, and third reading, Mr. Speaker, normally take not less than 7 days, Mr. Speaker, in this House. Now, yesterday was the question for the second reading. Today is the third day, is the second day for... the third reading is coming up now, Mr. Speaker, Committee of the House, Mr. Speaker. This is such an important bill, Mr. Speaker, that cannot be rushed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what is the hurry? Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, government wants to roll out the universal health care, Mr. Speaker, using this bill. This is such an important bill, Mr. Speaker, that cannot be rushed, the way I'm seeing it, Mr. Speaker, happening. Mr. Speaker, I am seeking you because I have never seen before a bill under your approval, Mr. Speaker, standing at number 1, exceptional times when I have seen a second reading happening like yesterday and the third reading happening today or on the same day. On exceptional bills, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is in my considered humble submission and opinion that, Mr. Speaker, let us be given, even if it's a minimum of 3 days or 4 days, we come up with our amendments as a House and we debate them, Mr. Speaker. Even the special sitting he wants to call for, Mr. Speaker, this is not a bill that we can take it for a joke, Mr. Speaker. This is such a serious bill, Mr. Speaker, that is going to affect the lives of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I request the House to support that. Let us take our time, and I request that the members to support me, Mr. Speaker, that let us defer this bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You want to speak on that? Okay, let's hear leader of majority.
Honorable Speaker, it's true that the question was put yesterday, but the report of the committee was tabled on 5th of August, which is not yesterday. The report of the committee was tabled on 5th of August. So members have had time to look at the report, and members have actually generated an amendment which you can see on the order paper. Honorable Speaker, last week on Thursday, I made a statement and you alerted members to be alert to the contents of the statement. And in that statement, I had actually indicated that the Committee of the Whole House on the NHIF bill was supposed to be yesterday. So every member had noticed from last week that Committee of the Whole House was to take place yesterday. Unfortunately, on Thursday last week, a member stood and raised the issue of quorum, and we could not complete the debate on NHIF last week so that we could have it yesterday. And members had noticed that the NHIF Committee of the Whole House would take place yesterday, but because it could not take place then, because of the completion of the debate or putting on the question, so we put the question yesterday. And hence, the issue cannot arise now that members have not had time to bring amendments. I know Honorable Junet has not been in the House for a while, but that is no reason to derail the benefits accruing from this National Health Insurance Bill for the Kenyans. Kenyans are suffering out there. They cannot afford to pay their medical bills. And when we are creating a vehicle to help them, this house cannot then be standing. This house cannot be standing in the way of Kenyans who are suffering out there because they cannot pay their bills, because we want to take our sweet time to bring amendments when we had all the time to bring amendments and people have not brought those amendments. So, Honorable Speaker, I urge that we also remember we are going for recess for 4 weeks from tomorrow. Kenyans cannot continue waiting until September so that we start doing the UHC, which is something we already knew that we were to do. So, Honorable Speaker, I find this request rather strange, especially from a member of the House Business Committee, because it's the House Business Committee that scheduled this business to be on the order paper today. Now, if Honorable Junet did not attend the House Business Committee, he cannot try to invalidate the decisions of the House Business Committee, which you chaired, Mr. Speaker, and who saw the wisdom of why we need to have this bill on the order paper today. So, Honorable Speaker, I urge that we do not derail the processing further of this bill. If Honorable Junet has any issue he would want to bring an amendment on, he still has time. And we can process it even as we go in the Committee of the Whole House. But let us not derail the processing of this bill any further on account of time, because Honorable Junet is a member of the House Business Committee. He would have raised the matter in the House Business Committee. Last week, we gave notice through a statement that this matter will be coming to a floor this week. So every member heard that, and some members have actually prepared. There are members here who have come purely to process this. So let's not frustrate the work of Parliament just because we are not comfortable with something. Let us raise it when we come to the committee. Mr. Speaker, I urge that we do not reschedule this matter.
Well, the leader minority has first shot after the leader majority.
Mr. Speaker, it is true that I'm a member of the House Business Committee, the same with Honorable Junet and leader majority and others. But Mr. Speaker, it's also true that both of us didn't attend yesterday's meeting, the House Business Committee meeting. But I just want to ask and urge the leader majority to be flexible, because really we plan business in this House for the convenience of the House. Mr. Speaker, many of us, before a matter is concluded at the second reading, we don't prepare amendments, because we don't know when really the second reading will be over. So even if you give notice, but I've realized that the matter was not concluded at the second reading, there is usually no hurry to prepare amendments until when the matter is concluded. And Mr. Speaker, this is a very important matter. And what makes it even more important that this matter is deferred is what exactly the majority leader said, that this is a very, very important bill for the welfare of many, many Kenyans. And it is a matter that we cannot rush, especially the Committee of the Whole House, because then, when later it turns out that we made mistakes in legislating this law, then who will we blame? Will we say that we wanted to rush so that this bill is passed for those who are supposed to benefit to start benefiting, or we will be accused of sleeping on the job? Mr. Speaker, there is nothing wrong with us deferring the Committee of the Whole House on this bill. I'm sure we are going to have special sittings. Obviously we will, to approve IBC commissioners, to approve the TSC. So, Mr. Speaker, there's nothing that would stop the Leader of Majority and myself from including this bill among the issues that we will transact during the special sitting. So I want to just plead with my colleague. You know, we are in politics. Flexibility sometimes, I know my colleague is my professional colleague. We have been with him in this parliament for long. I know he's a very inflexible leader. When he has put his mind to something, he doesn't want to change. But, Mr. Speaker, these are occasions and times when you are called upon to compromise for the benefit of the House and for the benefit of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I beseech you that we convince the Leader of Majority that this matter can be deferred a little longer. Thank you.
Okay, I will hear a few of you. Honorable Duale.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, let me take you to... Mr. Speaker, first, I have no problem because I have amendments. And Mr. Speaker, the clerk's office will agree with me. I was told about the Committee of the Whole House at 1 o'clock today. And I had to prepare my amendments, and you saw me signing at 2:30, 3 o'clock, when the House was in session. Mr. Speaker, this is very, very important, and I want you to go to Standing Order 131. Mr. Speaker, let me read for the House. Where after a bill has been read a second time and before commencement of a Committee of the Whole House, amendments have been proposed to it, which in the opinion of the Speaker require harmonization. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the amendments to this bill by the Honorable KJ, if I use his acronym, and Honorable Speaker, tell the Leader of Majority to give him my time. I gave him his time. Yeah, KJ and Honorable Member for Chapalungu, if you look at the amendments, they are so fundamental, and there are many. And Mr. Speaker, tradition has been in this House that you use as Standing Order 131 to ask the committee chaired by Honorable Sabina Chege. No, I mean, you know, you have not been around, so the Speaker has allowed me, and even the Speaker when I was putting, Honorable Speaker, Speaker, you know, this is a problem of not being in the House, but let me continue. Honorable Speaker. Speaker, so I want you to use Standing Order 131. Speaker, let me continue. Those are statutes. Standing Order 131, Mr. Speaker, give you the powers. And the Speaker... Mr. Speaker, if there are people who, in Islam we say death is inevitable, that we shall remain. So, Mr. Speaker, let me put it so that they can be comfortable. I know they have many other issues, but Mr. Speaker, let me not lose my thought, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 131 gives you the powers. That's number one, and that's why we are telling you. Two, Mr. Speaker, and I want to go on record. There are instances where we had this kind of thing. Mr. Speaker, since the 10th Parliament, and you have been in the 9th Parliament, the tradition has been that when the question is put in the second reading, not the committee report being tabled as the Leader of Majority is saying, when the question is put for the second reading, a minimum of 24 hours is given to members. 24 hours, Mr. Speaker. In my opinion, the 24 hours was beginning this afternoon. And Mr. Speaker, you have given direction from that chair a number of times, telling members that you must prepare amendments for certain bills. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the Leader of Majority. In his statement on Thursday, he asked that this matter will come on Tuesday if the matter was to be concluded that Thursday. That's what his statement read. It was not concluded on Thursday. It was concluded yesterday. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not asking for too much. That's why, Mr. Speaker, we have just passed a motion giving sweeping powers to the House through a motion that in the event the President bring a message, in the event we receive a message from the Senate, in the event a bill matures, in the event we have got timelines as provided in the Public Appointment and Parliamentary Approval Act for the case of IBC and TSC, the House, through the leader of majority or the leader of minority, the House can be recalled. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing urgent. This government had 4 years to implement the universal health care. Mr. Speaker, there's nothing urgency. Me, I am ready, I have my amendments. But the concern of the Honorable Junet and many other members here, Mr. Speaker, is so good and is valid. Mr. Speaker, let us give members. I remember Honorable Millie Odhiambo used to take us back because she used to bring a raft of amendments. We used to sit in room 9 harmonizing it. Mr. Speaker, I want you to use Standing Order 131 and ask that, number one, with the many amendments by the member for Chapalungu and other members, can we harmonize through the chair of health, harmonize and agree? It is an important bill, so we don't want frivolous amendments to pass. We want amendments that will add value to the attainment of universal health care. Speaker, we are not asking. I mean, this bill, I contributed passionately, and I have got 2 amendments. And I have, in fact, is one bill I wanted to be passed like yesterday. And Mr. Speaker, we must carry everybody. And I really want, Mr. Speaker, to urge the leader of majority, be considerate sometimes. Be considerate when we have got the appropriation bill, when we have the finance bill, which have got timelines, when there is an urgent matter or even approving a nominee, we will support you. Please, this one, let us just have 3 days. Let's even, as members bring amendments, let's even harmonize. Let even me I can even be convinced during this period that I drop my amendment. Already the leader of majority has spoken to me on my amendment on the penalty. We want to agree, but Mr. Speaker, I really want to indulge you, and I want you to use Standing Order 131 so that we move on. And Mr. Speaker, I really want all of us to move in the same direction.
Honorable Charles Kilonzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think for once, the leader of majority should flow with the House, Mr. Speaker. This morning, with the sugar bill, and the amendments were very many. And it was agreed they be referred back to the committee and to the members, and they harmonized, and the matter was deferred, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, for the leader of majority to say the House Business Committee sat yesterday and the 2 members were there, whatever is agreed in the House Business Committee is not cast on a stone. This House has a tradition, and one of the traditions, Mr. Speaker, has been something we call mood of the House. And the mood of the House is very clear. So I want to appeal to my good friend, Mr. Speaker, that for once, do flow with the House. Do agree with members. This matter be deferred, and we can defer it as long as we can have a special sitting specifically for this.
Now, you know, so many of you, Honorable Amalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've listened carefully. I really wish to contribute on this bill at the second reading, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, I didn't get an opportunity. But listening to the majority leader, and I've heard it also in my own constituency, Mr. Speaker, where people are complaining about this issue of NHIF. Many bills they have not been paying. And if I told this bill trying to expedite is going to bring a solution, Mr. Speaker, then obviously it is going to add value. Mr. Speaker, sometimes back we had such an issue that people had amendments. A matter was deferred. But when that time came, Mr. Speaker, the amendments which were supposed to have been 10, it dropped down. It was only 1 amendment, Mr. Speaker. So really, If some people are in the House Business Committee and that day they are not there because of their own individual interests, Mr. Speaker, should not delay the House. It should not delay the House. It's personal. Mr. Speaker, choices have consequences. At that particular time when I was not available, I never contributed. And the business had to go on. How I wish, Mr. Speaker, maybe we could also hear from the chair of the committee. Like today, Mr. Speaker, when there were amendments on the Committee of Agriculture, and the chair mentioned that some of those amendments were so significant that it would have required even public participation. But the committee felt that they should step it down for purposes of further consultation. So how I wish, Mr. Speaker, Sabina Chege, who is here, as the chair of the committee, Mr. Speaker, will also wish also to hear from her, because really every amendment, it is important that it's passed through the relevant committee. I thank you.
Well, let me give the Honorable Pukose, who indeed yesterday rose standing order number 95 to call for the mover to be called upon to reply. Is it you, the Honorable, sir? Yes. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, it was me because I've been here since the motion was actually moved. I was here when it was debated. I participated also in the debate of the motion last week, and now it came this week when we've actually exhaustively listening to what the members were saying. It was almost the same thing. But I wanted to urge the majority leader, reading the mood of the House, that let's defer this matter. When you read Standing Order number 131 further down, Mr. Speaker, some of the amendments might have even monetary implications, and therefore it might even require even consultation with the Committee on Budget. Therefore, I think, or even the CS who is responsible for Treasury. So I think it is important that we defer this matter, allow members, let's allow our colleagues, because they are actually important stakeholders in this. And when I look at it, you know, the other day I raised that the ODM side was not in the House, the main ODM side, leave alone the peripheral. So the main ODM House is now in the House, even after the PPI reg has stopped. I think we should be able to be magnanimous enough to allow them to bring the amendments so that the country can move together. And I think Honorable, the leader for ODM, the chairman of ODM, said they want to bring the country together, and they are starting with the Homa Bay. So I think this is an important thing. Let's all of us work together and allow them to bring the amendments.
Let's see, before I hear the chair, let's just hear the Honorable Oundo.
Honorable Speaker, probably I'm one of the most diligent members when it comes to the committee of the whole House. Honorable Speaker, in my misguided view, the second reading offers alternative or additional information which the respective committee should actually consider, review what has been debated and presented by the members by looking at the Hansard, so that whatever final amendments the committee proposes has taken into account the comments and the views of the members. Honorable Speaker, presupposing that the second reading, the proceedings second reading, are of no value is basically meant to demean this House. Honorable Speaker, it's practically impossible that the debate closed yesterday, and by today morning when the standing order, the order papers being published, the committee has already gone through the Hansard or the proceedings of the second reading and made a determination, essentially, Honorable Speaker, not to tell the correct position to the members and the members of public. Honorable Speaker, honestly speaking, this is such a fundamental bill that touches the lives of the common mwananchi. Time is necessary for us, Honorable Speaker, to gauge what was the views of the members of this House and prepare adequate amendments that will safeguard the health and the interests of these people, the people of Kenya. I sincerely ask the leader of the majority. We have always stood for him, with him, in times when he needed us. It's also time that he stands with us when we need for his indulgence in this particular matter. Honorable Speaker, I request that you rule in favor of postponing the debate on the committee of the whole House until a reasonable time is given to members to review what are said and propose amendments that will safeguard the interests of this country. Honorable Speaker, thank you.
Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've listened to the members of this House, and several issues have been raised, and especially the issue of the committee preparedness of this matter. I just want to confirm that the debate ended last week. We have taken time as a committee to engage with stakeholders. We have taken time to listen to the members who are also here. So by last week, yesterday, the question was only put. But last week, the debate ended. I also want to confirm, Mr. Speaker, that today, including one member for Homa Bay, Honorable Wanga, who is not present in the House, she had amendments, and we spoke and we agreed on how the amendments are going to be carried. Honorable KJ, the other member who has been also referred, the members who had the amendment, Honorable Koske was also consulted, and we have actually harmonized. We took better part of the morning to actually harmonize, and we are in agreement. Honorable Duale, the issues that he was even going through the amendments have confirmed to him that several of them already the committee has taken care of. So I just want to urge members, and especially it's sad, Mr. Speaker, when the leadership don't agree. It's actually sad. I wish they had raised this matter before, and they would have guided as well, because as you can see, members were ready. The ones who also wanted to move the amendments were ready. I'll only beg, if it suits the members, that we proceed with the business so that we are able to handle this matter. The governors, Mr. Speaker, and I would not want to take the same route, took us over 1 year to submit names for UAT for the first million households that were supposed to be taken care of. I'd wish that this House don't delay, and I was trying to consult with my brother to find out whether there's something that is really should be considered, because we can see on how we can be able to incorporate in our amendments. But he just said he wants some more time just to have a look at it. I don't think there's anything that is hidden in the bill or in the amendment. And I'm very sure, because we make the laws, if there's something that this House may pass or may omit, there will be another chance that we can be able to. This bill is going to the Senate again and then coming back here. So we still have some more time. I'd want to beg honorable members, if you're able to proceed, well and good. And just really pleading with the members so that we're able to tackle and make UHC a reality. And I'm just saying, I beg members that we proceed. But if there's any major matter, then we can still consider it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I just want to hear your views. And before me here, just as I was seated here, what proposed as amendment by the Honourable Duale, I have not approved them because they have been, because I don't approve amendments from here. But I think, honourable members, a few things may come to light. What is the value of second reading? Is debate. Views are expressed regarding any of the clauses in a bill. And I think I want to implore committees also to take this seriously. That second reading, because I've seen even chairs of committees, they come, move, and then I see them walking away. So you wonder now who is. And then the next thing is they are coming with amendments. From where? Then you say you have interacted with the villagers in public participation. How about the very serious ideas that have come from members here? Are they of no value? In which case then we can we should do away with the second reading, so that a bill goes to, it comes, first reading, referred to the committee, committee goes and takes views from stakeholders and the other members of the public. After that, you come to committee of the whole House. If contributions by members, and I know there are several members here who actually research or have very serious input to the bills. I think, to be fair, this is an important issue. It's an important fact that we must take into consideration. In yesterday's order paper, this bill, the National Hospital Insurance Amendment Bill, was listed for second reading, continuation of debate. For all intents and purposes, debate was to continue. If there are sufficient members to oppose the issue raised by under Standing Order 95 by the Honorable Pukose, and demanded that, of course, through a vote, if you demanded that debate continues, it means that even now, you'll be debating. That's the long and short. So, but nevertheless, the Honorable Pukose rose in his place, and I think those who are present, who have not been, who perhaps have contributed, were of the view that the debate should be closed, and that the mover be called upon to reply. I would want to know from the committee whether, is it today you have looked at the Hansard to see what contribution, because very many members have contributed to this bill, to be honest. On the first day, I remember asking for the record here, there were a total of 24 members. It has been debated for about 3 days. So I don't know, the health committee, throughout the night, they didn't sleep looking through the Hansard to see what members said. With regard, because what members say here should also, it should inform what proposals the committee comes up with. Yeah, because so many members contributed. Those are views that also need to be taken into account. And I think committees, please don't take the contributions in second reading so casually. That that what you have taken out there, you have been given by stakeholders is the alpha and omega. But nothing else matters. And I think, to the extent that even when I'm here, I'm still receiving proposed amendments. This is evidence that I think there has not been, proper. There has not been sufficient time for people to bring in their amendments. And we always say from here, using Standing Order 131, we always encourage committees to undertake what we call winnowing, so that you harmonize, as Honorable Dwelle said, you harmonize the various proposals. And I think nothing really will happen if we allow you and the House to some little bit of time, since it is obvious. It's obvious from the motion that we've just passed in order number 8 that the House, even during recess, will have to reconvene for a special sitting. You can also, the leader of majority can indicate that on one of the sitting days, the business to be transacted will be this one, so that nobody feels that they have been left out. Just carry everybody on board. There's no harm. In any event, the Senate is not sitting. The latest indication I have is that Nairobi is too cold, so they may not be sitting for some time. I think we have some time during which we can try to carry everybody on board. Remember, at the end of the day, Actually, even carrying everybody on the moon means being able to sit together. As the Honorable Sabina explains, that maybe she has already explained to Honorable Koske, Honorable Kiari, Honorable Duale, maybe it may well be that by the time, given this time, they will all be just confirming that yes, we've spoken, the committee has taken my proposals, and we carry them. It makes the work that much easier during that time, if we allow. But see, if we don't, it will just mean that there may be so much protracted arguments and debate in the committee of the whole house, which is unnecessary, that you may even not finish today. So I think, in my view, in my opinion, there is need to do some form of harmonization, and also allow for more time for any other member who may not have been here yesterday and today, and who desires to propose amendments to this bill, time to do so. And therefore, I will adjourn debate in committee of the whole house by removing from the order paper business appearing as order number 10 for purposes of harmonization of proposed amendments and accommodation of any other amendments that any other member may wish to propose. I think when we move together, we are better off. So let's just carry everybody on board, and let nobody feel that they have been shortchanged, or they have not been given enough time to propose amendment. I think it is not a good thing to say that you have a chance to propose amendments when the bill comes from the Senate, because then you will be risking going the route provided for in Articles 112 and 113 on mediation. So remember, you can only deal with any new proposals that come from the Senate. So to give yourselves and this House sufficient time, I will take out the business appearing as order number 10 and direct that any member desiring to bring in amendments, any new ones, submit them to the clerk before Monday, before close of business on Monday next week. Before close of business on Monday next week, which will be 23rd. So that thereafter, then need for any harmonization may take place. The committee will have time, they can meet even when on recess. I'm aware that committees do meet quite regularly. So that is the order from the chair. How many? Next order.
Order number 11, the Irrigation Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2021, second reading.
Member for Suba, is it North? Honorable Mili, I'm told you have a balance of 6 minutes.
Amanyikanya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to continue contributing to this bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, I just also want to thank you for the guidance you've just given in relation to the NHIF bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the things that we are not taking cognizance of is now we are competing with our friends and relatives who are also dying. Yesterday, I was attending a funeral service for a friend of mine called Violet Wasuna. Today, I was attending a funeral service for one of my Doniwas in Kiambu. So, Mr. Speaker, in the age and time of COVID, when we are making our calendar, we should also take into account the fact that people are dying at an alarming rate, which is also competing with our calendar of events. Mr. Speaker, I will also be requesting at some point, because I know we are proceeding on recess, and I was hoping to bring an issue with a question by private notice in relation to fishermen, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I will be asking the Parliament during the special session to maybe consider that as well, because even as we are proceeding on recess, a lot of fishermen are being killed by Ugandan forces. Mr. Speaker, that is something that I'm going to request during this recess. Other than that, Mr. Speaker, I'd already given indications about the importance of irrigation, and I just want to indicate, Mr. Speaker, that there are some issues in the bill that I just want to commend, and that areas that may require amendment. And given the direction that we have already given the chair of committees, I hope that the chair of the relevant committee is here and that he is listening, and that he will bring the amendments. And if that is not possible, I hope I will make time, Mr. Speaker. First, Mr. Speaker, in relation to Clause 6, I am happy that there is provision made for 2 persons of opposite gender and from different regions with knowledge and experience in various matters. Mr. Speaker, when we take into account gender and regional representation, Mr. Speaker, it means we are taking the issue of inclusion into account. Mr. Speaker, how I wish that in Clause 6, Subclause 3, that we would also include the same provision, same standards of gender and regional representation. Mr. Speaker, if you notice, it says that that will delete paragraph H and substitute therefore the following new paragraph. 2 persons appointed by the Cabinet Secretary out of 4 persons nominated by the National Irrigation Farmers Association. But, Madam Speaker, I do note the change. But, Madam Speaker, I do note that it does not indicate whether these will be of the same gender or it will be one gender, and whether there will be regional representation. Madam Speaker, I would want to encourage the committee that this clause should be amended to reflect gender and regional representation, and perhaps include persons with disability. Madam Speaker, I'm also happy that in Clause 6, Subclause 5, the board, it provides that the board shall adhere to principles of corporate governance. Madam Speaker, you do realize that even the other irrigation schemes that the government has started have gone the wrong way because of integrity issues, because of corruption. And then after that, we go and complain against the government when it is individuals working within the government that are doing these things, Madam Speaker. And so when we ensure that we strengthen issues of governance, Madam Speaker, I think that is very good. But, Madam Speaker, I am also going to propose amendments to Clause 17, and the Clause 17 provides different standards under Subclause 2. It says that without prejudice through Subsection 1, the Cabinet Secretary shall ensure that irrigation developments are planned and implemented in accordance to certain standards, which includes integrated water resource management principles and amongst others. But, Madam Speaker, how I wish that we could also provide a human rights-based framework for management of irrigation. How I wish that we would also take into account gender mainstreaming in management of irrigation. Madam Speaker, sometimes when I raise these issues, people ask you that how do you see gender on issues of irrigation? When I was working with different government agencies as a consultant before I came here, Madam Speaker, people asked us the same thing in regard to roads. But, Madam Speaker, now I see many, many people, many women who are involved in roads because we actually took initiative. Finally, Madam Speaker, I can see that I've already been given warning, and so I'll just make one last comment that, Madam Speaker, I'm very happy about the issue that we are also incorporating monitoring and strengthening monitoring. And I'm only also concerned about Clause 16, C1, where we talk about undesirable, that you can be released because of undesirable behavior. What is undesirable behavior? Because that is very subjective. we need to have very clear and objective ways of dismissing people. Otherwise, because my time is up, I do support, and thank you.
Member for Ijara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to contribute to this very, very important bill. From onstart, Madam Speaker, I want to support the Amendment Bill 2021 of Irrigation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the objectives of the bill, the main principal objective of the bill is to amend the Irrigation Act to expand the administration and the management of the irrigation matters in Kenya, Madam Speaker. To achieve this expansion, Madam Speaker, the bill seeks to amend various sections of the Act to ensure adoption of best practices in irrigation, as well as to enhance sustainability of development of irrigation infrastructure and investment in Kenya, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Irrigation Act of 2019 meant to streamline the development, the management and irrigation of regulation of irrigation, and to support sustainable food security and social economic development in this country, Madam Speaker. The Act outlines respective roles of the national government and county government in facilitating irrigation activities in this country. Madam Speaker, currently that is not well defined. The roles and the responsibility of both national government and county government is not well established. This amendment now will clearly define the roles of the national government and the county government and other stakeholders that are interested to do private and irrigation programs and projects in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Act has also embraced multi-sectoral approach to irrigation development, Madam Speaker, and management, fully recognizing the private sector for the first time, Madam Speaker, in involving themselves as well as other non-state actors in irrigation development, Madam Speaker, to improve sustainability of the project. We have seen many irrigation projects, big projects that have failed because of management, because it has not plan of sustainability, Madam Speaker. We know and have gone to many projects in this country that clearly there are no clear roles, management roles, sustainability plans, but with this amendment, we'll be able to have a clear management structure and a clear role map of sustainability of the irrigation project, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it also strengthens and enhances institutions, Madam Speaker. This amendment, Madam Speaker, will clearly enhance and strengthen the existing institutions. For example, we will have a formation of Irrigation Water Users Association. Having Irrigation Water Users Association, this will have a affordable opportunity for giving and opportunities for irrigation, so that we do not have conflict between the domestic use of water and the irrigation water. We have seen places where there have been conflict previously, but now with this amendment, with this body in place, then we will have clear roles that are defined and articulated very well, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we will also have an umbrella farmers organization. An umbrella farmers organization that will now know and will have data. It will have data that will show where every farmers and irrigation is in this country, and what are they doing and how are they doing it, and that will be able now to identify the gaps and the problems that exist in any of the irrigation farms that we have, because we'll have a body that is an umbrella body that will regulate, that will see the management, that will see the sustainability plans of of the farms, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this will give self-reliance, proper governance structure, and legal status to enter into agreement with the national government, county government, private institutions, and other associations, Madam Speaker. While we have a defined roles, Madam Speaker, these defined roles now will be able to create, these bodies will be able to give an opportunity for every organization and everybody who is interested in undertaking irrigation in this country. Recognition, self-reliance, an approach where you will be able to be articulating your issues and your farm product and everything, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Act will also expand the mandate of the National Irrigation Authority, Madam Speaker, and provide for the board composition in line with the principle of corporate governance, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this will give national irrigation, through this amendment, the National Irrigation Authority, which is currently in place, Madam Speaker, and I know the issues because I oversight them, Madam Speaker. This will give them an opportunity of expansion. This will give them an opportunity of, organizing themselves properly through this amendment, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, although this is a very progressive piece of legislation that has a lot of positive, but again, Madam Speaker, there are certain gaps and that are within the bill, Madam Speaker, that we have identified as a committee. And Madam Speaker, those ultimately requires some amendments in order to enhance effective implementation of this act. Some of the areas, Madam Speaker, of concern to us as the committee is there are omissions in terms of key terms of definitions, Madam Speaker. Those are some of the things the committee are proposing to bring when we are going to do some amendment, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other thing that is lacking in this amendment, Madam Speaker, is appointing authority in terms of board appointment in order to meet the threshold of Article 6 of the Constitution. That also is not well defined within the bill, Madam Speaker, and that as a committee we are going to raise an amendment to that effect, Madam Speaker. We will also need to harmonize with the previous Water Act of 2016, Madam Speaker. This amendment has some issues that is not harmonized with the Water Act of 2016. And at that stage, Madam Speaker, the committee will also bring an amendment, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the committee, Madam Speaker, will be proposing amendment during that time, the committee of the whole house, Madam Speaker, to clean up the act, to clean up this, because we have already said we have met with a lot of stakeholders. We met with the line ministry. We met with several other stakeholders. We published this bill in the media, mainstream media, and we have gotten a lot of interest, Kenyans' interest. And from yesterday, we have seen a lot of interest within this house. People have debated, people have contributed good ideas that we feel we need to carry that so that we will be able to clean up and polish the bill, Madam Speaker, the amendment bill. Further, Madam Speaker, the committee is going to propose qualification of the chairperson of the board. Within the amendment bill, we do not have the qualification of the chairman of the board within the amendment. So the committee, in its own wisdom, has agreed to put in the qualifications as one of the amendments, Madam Speaker, as well as the compositions of membership of the board, among them to enhance best practices in this country in terms of irrigation actors in the country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I would like to say thank you so much for giving me this chance to contribute to this very, very important bill. Thank you so much.
Member for Funyula. Honorable Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The issue of irrigation, as we always say, or water, as we always say, water is life. And water is life in two senses. One, for domestic use, and secondly, in terms of agriculture and livestock, for agriculture, as well as livestock, they need water. Honorable Speaker, this is a country, Kenya, that has got less than 20% of land that is arable, less than 20% of the areas that receive rainfall that can truly rely on rain-fed rainfall. Honorable Speaker, we have a country where the rainfall pattern is so restrictive that we are unable to have crop throughout the year. So, Honorable Speaker, the savior to this country, in order for us to be food secure and produce enough agricultural products to meet the demand following the signing of the very many trade agreements between EU, Europe, Britain and other countries outside this continent, is to have a source of water to enable us grow crops throughout the year. Honorable Speaker, with the erratic rainfall in this country, we cannot rely on rain-fed rainfall. Honorable Speaker, as we speak, and a motion was moved here last week, and reports that have been submitted by various government agencies, we are having about 25 counties in this country that are facing severe drought. They are facing severe drought, Honorable Speaker, because they did not receive enough rainfall to enable them to grow crops. So, the importance of irrigation in this country cannot be gainsaid. The importance of this irrigation cannot be overemphasized. That's why, Honorable Speaker, we have had National Irrigation Board, now turned the National Irrigation Authority, and we have so many other private irrigation schemes of whatever nature that have been flourishing in this country, that have been implemented in this country, with so many success stories, but of course, we have so many flops, or so many that have failed terribly. Honorable Speaker, it was the expectation of all Kenyans that by changing the National Irrigation Board to a National Irrigation Authority, that will be able to enhance the amount of acreage under irrigation. That has not happened, and perhaps that has informed the decision to continuously review the act that was passed in 2019. Honorable Speaker, successive governments, more so the Jubilee government, gave us very lofty promises how they'll put endless amount of acres under irrigation. Many of them, nothing has happened, and the few that have happened have been a conduit for corruption, namely the Galukulanu and whatever. Honorable Speaker, it is important, therefore, the issue of governance, as has been clearly stated in clause 6.5 of this bill, becomes central to the management of irrigation systems in this country. Honorable Speaker, it is such a shame that we pump a lot of money into irrigation schemes, yet nothing comes out of it in terms of increasing food security. We pump a lot of money into irrigation scheme, Honorable Speaker, because of poorly planned irrigation implementation. They take an eon before they come into use. Look at Takwe Dam, look at Tiba Dam, look at other major irrigation projects in this country, Honorable Speaker. That's why the emphasis on corporate governance and emphasis on Chapter 6 in those charged with the managing irrigation scheme should be the key and the main plank of this amendment. At the committee of the whole House, we will have to make those amendments to entrench good governance, ethics, and value for money in the implementation of irrigation schemes, because they have become a conduit for corruption and pilfering public funds. Honorable Speaker, looking at the bill, there are quite a number of positives. One, it expands the definition of irrigators. to include persons or entities which own, operate, or manage an irrigation scheme. Probably a further expansion will be necessary to include even those who benefit from irrigation scheme directly or indirectly. Honorable Speaker, another area that seems to be positive, but not really, there are quite a number of clauses that might have to relook. Clause 6(1)(f) about appointment of board members by the Council of Governors. What has been provided in this bill, Honorable Speaker, might be actually unconstitutional. A cabinet secretary cannot supervise or direct the Council of Governors on whom to appoint. Honorable Speaker, the specific clause inter alia states that appointed by the cabinet secretary from a list of 4 nominees submitted by the Council of Governors. Honorable Speaker, that could be contentious, that could be unconstitutional. At the particular moment, we'll have to look at it so that the appointment by the Council of Governors should be expressed and should not be subject to further vetting by any other body as contrary to the provisions of the law and the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, Clause 17 puts into place such a cumbersome process of consultation leading to prescribing administrative and regulatory framework. Honorable Speaker, in this country where we believe in brinkmanship, I do not know how successful the Cabinet Secretary will be by consulting Water Resource Authority Secretary, the National Water Storage and Harvesting Authority, the National Land Commission, the Council of Governors, and other stakeholders. It might be cumbersome. We'll never get any administrative or regulatory framework. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the Act as well amends the Principal Act under Clause 15. Under Section 34 of the Act, Principal Act, required the Cabinet Secretary that within 9 months must have prepared or submitted various regulations required under the Act for purposes of supporting the implementation of the Act. As it stands, Honorable Speaker, increasing that period from 9 months to 18 months essentially means the Act shall never be implemented. We badly need a functioning irrigation system. We badly need a functioning irrigation management system as soon as it's practical. 18 months is inordinately too long, Honorable Speaker. By then, we would have suffered endless hunger, endless famine, endless drought that is not going to support us. Honorable Speaker, I suppose, and it's important, that within a short period of time, the Cabinet Secretary, in consultation with the Council of Governors, should be in a position to develop regulations that can operationalize the Act. As it stands now, there aren't adequate regulations to ensure that we prudently invest public funds in irrigation schemes, that we give framework and guidelines to private irrigators on how to manage irrigation schemes. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I support the bill with reservations regarding to the proposed amendments that will move at the committee of the whole House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kabinga Wachira, member for Mwea.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill is of interest to the people of Mwea because they work tirelessly to feed this country with lice through irrigation schemes that are in Mwea. That's for the same reason, Honorable Speaker, that I came into this House almost 40 minutes before time, and I'm really surprised that I was not number one on your list. Honorable Speaker, the amendments before us are important to strengthen the act, the bill that was passed in 2019. Prior to that, Honorable Speaker, we had an archaic act, Coronio, which we used to refer to as CAP 347. And it was through a tireless effort in 2018-2019 that this House was able to come up with an irrigation bill that improved on the management of irrigation schemes in this country. Honorable Speaker, the amendment that we are having currently is important for the full operationalization of the National Irrigation Authority that was created through the 2019 bill. However, a number of issues were noted from that particular bill that necessitated this particular amendment, Honorable Speaker. And before I go to making remarks on some of the amendments, Honorable Speaker, let me thank the government because of the seriousness it has taken on irrigation schemes. I know a number of the members have noted some of the shortcomings in some of the irrigation schemes. The speaker before me mentioned the River Dam, and I'm not sure I understood what issues he has on it. River Dam is in Kirinyaga County. It's a mega dam. It was almost a 20 billion project. As we are talking now, it's about 65%. And by December, we expect that project to be fully complete. And once complete, we shall be redoubling the production of rice in Mwea and hence be able to feed this country by almost 50% of the rice requirements that we have. And therefore, that's a milestone, major. And I want to commend National Irrigation Authority, Ministry of Water, and the entire government for ensuring that that project is on time and it's completed on time, Honorable Speaker, which will be a major milestone to this country. Honorable Speaker, some of the amendments that are called upon by this particular amendment, 2021, are very important. Among them, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that the National Irrigation Board can attain the necessary quorum to enable it to proceed with its meetings and operations. Under the current Act, with 9 board members, the authority is supposed to raise 7 members to form a quorum. That, Honorable Speaker, could be a tall order at times, and especially at this time when we're talking about the challenges of corona and other pandemics that bedevil this country. And therefore, reducing that number to 5 is but a necessary amendment that we needed, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also commend the drafters of the amendment for ensuring that there is greater consultation in the entire management of water use, Honorable Speaker. As it is now, we have decisions being made by the Water Resources Authority or any other concerned authority without deeper consultation. And it is for the same reason that we have the current fees, for example, on the water use as 3,000 shillings per acre. And for an ordinary farmer, this becomes a heavy burden on a farmer who is not subsidized in his farming, for a farmer whose inputs are very high, very high rates, on a farmer who is quite often not affected by poor infrastructure, and on a farmer who would occasionally be invested by what we call kwera birds, who consume almost the lives of about 250 million in this country every season, and also snails. So the farmer is overburdened. And therefore, if we have these other costs, like the water use cost, without proper consultation, the farmer ends up to be the one to suffer, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's also important that we amend the current act to ensure that the National Irrigation Authority is anchored into the department that is concerned with irrigation. As it is now, when government shifts irrigation from one area to another, like in agriculture and water, you find the National Irrigation Authority being in agriculture where irrigation is in water, or vice versa. And this causes a lot of confusion. And therefore, when we now amend the Act to ensure that we know where the National Irrigation Authority will be in disregard of any changes within the ministries, then that's a good thing for us. The other thing is on extending the responsibilities of the National Irrigation Authority to include some regulation. As it is now, much of the responsibilities are only on the management. And we are saying that the National Irrigation Authority should lessen its burden on management, increase on regulation, so that once an irrigation is fully grown, the management should be left to the scheme management committee as opposed to the authority itself. And I think that's another good thing for us in this country. Honorable Speaker, with those good amendments, I will also be proposing some amendments during the committee of the whole House to ensure that we even increase the efficiency of the authority much more. Honorable Speaker, having created an authority in the name of National Irrigation Authority, the positions and the reader there is still under the Chief Executive Officer. In line with other authorities like Ikura, Kera, and Kenha, and others, it's a high time that we now change that position from that of a CEO to a Director General to give room to other levels of management to also assume the position of Director. And therefore, I'll be coming up with that amendment, Honorable Speaker. I'm also looking at aligning the term of the Director General with the strategic period of the authority, and also again in line with other authorities, changing the term of the Director General from 3 years to 5 years, so that that person can feel secure and also be able to provide the necessary services as other authorities that we have in this country. The other thing that we'll also be looking at is the strategic framework of irrigation by the ministry, aligning it with the authority, so that again, the period under which the two strategic visions are managed be harmonized, Honorable Speaker. In addition to that, and finally, I will also be looking as a long term the issue of rice production and marketing in this country. It's still not catered for in the irrigation bills. We need a bill that is standalone for rice and any other commodity, so that the production and marketing can be housed in one, can be domiciled in one area, Honorable Speaker, like a board that looks at rice itself. Because as it is now, we have many players. We have the trade ministry looking at the marketing. We have agriculture looking at the crop itself. We have water looking at the irrigation. And all these causes some confusion, which is taken advantage by some people who end up in bringing
Honorable Member for Mwingi Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to contribute to this motion, and I want to start by saying that, as my colleague Dr. Oundo has said, water is life, and without water there is no life. Even here we are drinking water continuously. Madam Speaker, water is consumed by human beings. It is consumed by vegetation, and it is also consumed by animals and livestock. Madam Speaker, 71% of the world is covered with water. Yet, we still experience a drought in many areas, especially in Kenya. Many areas are drought-stricken. We also experience hunger and famine in many areas. Madam Speaker, where I come from, in the 21st century, women and the children go to fetch water many kilometers away. Like a particular place in my constituency in Ukasi, women wake up in the morning at 4 and return in the evening looking for water. And this is the 21st century. Madam Speaker, the same areas are no water, there is no rain, and there is no food. And therefore, it is a challenge in many parts of this country. Madam Speaker, there is no irrigation that can thrive without water. And where I come from, there is no single thriving irrigation scheme in Kitui County. And considering that the last rains we got was last year, the whole of Kitui County is hit by famine, and when there is no food, there is danger to lose lives. Madam Speaker, I expect this bill to provide for that gap, to provide security for water and to provide security for food. Madam Speaker, one of the key pillars of the Jubilee administration is food security. One of the key 4 pillars is food security. And the food security cannot be achieved without water. And therefore water is very key. When I look at this bill, under clause 15 of the bill, priority should be given to drought-stricken areas and the pastoralist areas. The bill is that clause is very superfluous. It just says provision of water, and the water can even be provided anywhere. Irrigation can be done anywhere, but priority should be given to drought-stricken areas and frequent farming areas. Madam Speaker, the bill should also provide prioritization of provision of water for irrigation and also for livestock, because in most of the conflict areas where communities fight, they fight over water. Livestock looking for water, and therefore I propose that in this bill there should be a provision that as we do irrigation, we also provide water for livestock, because when we do these dams, livestock also compete with human beings for the same water and also for farming and vegetation. Madam Speaker, moving forward, I propose that every household in Kenya must have a household dam, especially in dry areas, so that people become food secure and people also have access to drinking water. Therefore, Madam Speaker, with those proposals for amendment, I support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Rono, member for Keyo South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to also weigh in on this amendment of the irrigation bill. I want to first and foremost start by supporting the honorable member who has just spoken, who has started by saying water is life. Indeed, water is life. In fact, I'm glad that the country and the government is realizing the importance of irrigation, because irrigation is the root cause of where we will get food security. A good portion of our land in Kenya, in this country, is dry land. And we as members of parliament need to come and sit down and say, when will we ever solve this problem of water and by extension irrigation? Because the day we have water in every corner of this country, we will kiss goodbye something called lack of food in this country. If you take, for example, Kajiado County, a good portion of the land is arable, but dry. Reason being lack of water. It doesn't rain, but the water is underground. Go to Turkana, we have what we call, we have a lot of water underground. How do we get it out? Through irrigation. And the small areas that have irrigated are doing very well. If you go to Kilifi, Kwale, same scenario. So the elephant here is this: how do we get this water from underground? And the only way we can get water from underground, knowing now that water is life, what are we waiting for? We are not apportioning enough money for water in this country. We are not apportioning enough money for irrigation in this country. And also, we are not doing it fairly. Because if you look at where, for example, boreholes have been drilled, dams have been dug, you will see the spread of it is not fair at all. Some of them even are politicized, like Kimwarer and Aror dams. Politics come into play until we forget the core issue that we really wanted to do. Because the minute you politicize irrigation, you politicize water, we lose it. So, honorable members, where we know now that food security, being one of the four areas that the government, the Jubilee government, was set to gear itself to achieve food security, the answer is irrigation. There is no other better answer. So we need to actually drill boreholes in every sub-location in this country, and more particularly the dry areas, because we are ignoring it at our peril. This is where we will get our food security, and there is no better answer to food security without water and irrigation. That is the answer for us in this sitting. And as we sit here, honorable members, let us give a lot of energy and effort and money. We allocate enough money for this elephant called irrigation. Thank you, and I support the amendment.
Najuta kwa nini sasa nimefuatilia mambo haya.
Usijute, mume wangu, usijute. Hii ndio hali ya matibabu na sote tumetaka hili jambo lifanikiwe.
Mama, labda mimi ni mgonjwa kweli. Maana nikapelekwa asylum mimi.
To make it worse, dawa umezitupa kila mahali.
What's going on?
I promise. Taregesha sauti yako.
Huyu, sauti yana. Si akae nyumbani kwake atulie.
Mimi hata yashangaza.